Dak, you got Zeke, you got Cooper, you got a good offensive line, or supposed to have one of the better offensive lines, and you can't score points, that's an issue. Unless you're playing the NFC East, you are a lackluster football team to watch. And I get their record, but don't let the record fool you. They play in a bad division. They beat up on some teams early when they were committed to the run. They got away from it, and they were exposed. That's issues for me.
To your point, they were 6-0 against their division. They were 6-6, as it turned out, against everybody else.
I think the Dan Quinn point is the one that's important. That would push me to potentially move on from Mike McCarthy in order to keep Dan Quinn, if that's the decision you have to make. Because Dan Quinn's defense wasn't perfect this year, but the improvement was impressive. And that was the one thing that it felt like towards the end of the season. That was the one thing that was stable for them going forward. But he deserves some blame also. I think it can be spread around. I don't think this one game is enough to fire McCarthy, but I do think that the fear of losing Dan Quinn should concern them, because defense was a huge problem this year, or last year, and this season it became a bit of an asset.
And let me say this about Dan Quinn, because I got to know him a little bit in Atlanta. This guy brings a locker room together like few can in the NFL, and it's not just losing him as a defensive coordinator. It's that bond that he brings with him, the energy, how guys want to play for him. These guys would put their head through a wall for him. That type of thing that walks out of your building is very difficult to replace. I think that would be the most concerning for the Jones, that not only he leaves with the defensive strategy, but it's that extra. You know, when people talk about the it factor, he has the it factor in the locker room.
And that's why he's on everybody's list. It's interviewing head coaching candidates, and he's well respected and well regarded in the Dallas Cowboys building, as he would be just about anywhere. Look, he's a head coach. Like, we do this every year. Like, the performance of the coordinator's unit is not the reason to hire a head coach. Just because the defense was good or the offense was good for the defense or offense. This guy's been a head coach in the league. It's 6 years. Went to a Super Bowl.
Right.
We all know what happened, but he did coach a team to the Super Bowl. So, yes, I think it sounds like he's probably going to get a different job than the Dallas Cowboys, because it sounds like they're sticking with McCarthy, barring some dramatic change of mind. But he will be tough to replace.
I'll point out again that Jerry Jones does his regular weekly radio interview. Right around an hour from now, we are going to report immediately what it is that he says. So I think that's fascinating. It's one thing for Stephen Jones to say he has great confidence that he's returning, which I don't understand at all. No. It's his decision to make. I don't have great confidence. We're going to talk about the Packers next. I know we're doing that because it's up to me.
Right.
And so I'm not 100% sure why they would say it that way, which, look, I get that's the way that the question was phrased. But until I hear either Jerry or Stephen Jones say, Mike McCarthy will be our coach next year and that's it, I think this remains an open question.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was Stephen saying that. He's not Jerry. He's not the big boss. So Stephen has great confidence because he doesn't know exactly what Daddy's going to say. Daddy can say that it's the real deal. But, I mean, I'd be surprised if they moved on him, because the point that Dan made is that Jerry Jones actually has been pretty committed to his head coaches.
Let's actually then get into a point that you made in the notes yesterday that I think was really good. If there's one thing more than anything else to be upset about, if you're a Cowboys fan right this minute, what is it?
That this may have been their best chance. They have salary cap issues for next year that's going to require some decisions. I mean, you mentioned Amari Cooper. He's not coming back on that contract. I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence could be a guy who has to redo his contract in order to come back, and he may not want to. Randy Gregory, a free agent. So, I mean, these are important players that they're going to have to do something with just to get under the cap. And, look, Ezekiel Elliott's contract is immovable. They're not getting any relief out of that. Dak Prescott's contract, same thing. I mean, these are big numbers. So this might have been the best this team's going to be for the short term.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Two indictments on Mike McCarthy. Penalties, discipline matters. Head coach, that's your thing. They led the league in penalties, end up showing. Here's the other thing. When a head coach presents who we are, and he consistently said, we're going to be a physical team that depends on the run game. This isn't our DNA. Kellen Moore's going to do this. We're going to do this. And they never do it. Two concerning things for an owner or a general manager sitting over that. Is the message not getting to my locker room? And is Dan Quinn's does his message get to his defense versus what that is the comparison you're making if you're Jerry Jones. Do I keep Quinn and his message versus that? That's the concern. If you're Mike McCarthy, you're going, man, what I said just didn't resonate.
I thought what you said at the beginning was great. They said they were going to be physical, and they weren't. They looked like they should be explosive, and they were.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.